Welcome back, one and all. My name is Eltimar, and we are going to be continuing our Let's Play of Torment, Ties in Numenera. Where we left off last time, we had picked up Matkina. We went into our mind, fought a Sorrow fragment. One person died. It was a little bit unfortunate, but such is life in brain fights. We have several quests to do. We have to do copies of the ghostly woman. We have to track down the murderer, so we have to go down to the Dendra Ohur Chapel. We have to enter the infested Fathom sometime, and search for the Sorrow's latest victim at the Dendra Ohur Chapel. So we have two things to do at the chapel. It's down in the underbelly. Let's go take a look. We also really want to solve these murders, because murders are bad. The less murders there are, the better the world will be, or something.
Let's go all, you and me.
Let's look at the map here. Dendra Ohur Chapel. It's that weird, creepy, candly area. Candles are terrible underground, by the way. You should never have candles underground. Unless you have proper ventilation. They will fill the air with smoke.
Of course.
Oh man, there's lots of weird things here. This pushcart holds the emaciated corpse of a pauper. His toes and fingers have been chewed to the bone. The bed of this old pushcart is stained with blood and other more unpleasant things. A plump middle-aged woman lies upon the slab. Her head has been stripped of flesh, her eyes placed neatly on the slab beside it. Ew. Under the cloth lies the corpse of a man in dirty, mismatched armor. He appears to have been stabbed dozens of times.
Of course.
This corpse appears to have been partially eaten, gnawed by human teeth. The body cavity is splayed open, and most of the organs are gone. There's a thing I can interact with there. The corpse is in a wretched state, its head and limbs crushed to a pulp, with bits of wood and debris embedded in the skin. This altar is made entirely of human bones, with a carved skeletal head mounted above it. Long maggots wriggle in its empty eye sockets. Ew. The corpse of an elderly man lies under the shroud. His face is peaceful, and you can see no obvious cause of death. A teenage girl lies dead on the slab. Most of her bones are shattered, suggesting that she fell from a great height. Alright, we have several people to talk to. Let's try with the Devourer of Wrongs first. This enormously fat figure stands alone, motionless. Because of its metal mask and the obscuring layers of devices, filters, and hoses it wears, you can't be sure if it's a man or a woman, or even if it's entirely human. Its thick neck bulges and clenches as if it was chewing something. You recall seeing this being before, standing behind a Reese on the execution platform in Circus Minor. Can I ask you some questions about the murderer loose in the underbelly? No, Imbitu, our leader, has forbidden us from answering questions about the investigation. It nods towards an elderly man who stands on the other side of the chamber, near an altar of bone. Is that Imbitu? Yes, it says without looking. He binds us to action, or the lack of it. Why won't Imbitu let me ask you about the murderer? That is for him to answer, not me. The faintest undercurrent of anger warms the masked creature's voice. What is your role of the Dendra Ohur? I attend the executions and eat the condemned once they are dead. Their meat shows me the extent of their guilt and gives me their memories, revealing motive, method, accomplices, and secrets. The Dendra Ohur have always performed this service for the city. I see, you're immortalizing them. We are. Fragments of their consciousness will live on in my mind. When I die, I will be eaten by my successor, and so those fragments will pass from one generation to the next. Their sorrows and their mistakes, never to be lost or forgotten. I want to ask... What? No, doesn't want to... That's it. Okay, that's all he has to say. Let's talk to Gzi. Gzai. This short, squat woman rakes absently at the swollen red tattoos decorating her pale, naked scalp. Her claws draw blood, but she doesn't seem to notice. Her head jerks up at the sound of your footsteps, and her too large mouth widens in a sharp-toothed smile. We greet you, tenderling, yes. We honor your arrival. Her eyes rove over your body hungrily. What brings you to the Dendra Ohur, What do you want to share with us? Her grey and pointed tongue swipes at the ritual scarring around her lips, leaving a glistening sheet of saliva. There's a murderer loose in the underbelly. Do you know anything about that?
Remember that.
We are not to speak of that. Imbitu has asked us to hold our tongues.
She glances at an elderly man who lurks near the altar of bones on the other side of the room. Is that him?
Yes, she says with a shy, fond smile. He leads us, guides us, feeds us.
Why doesn't Imbitu want to speak want you to speak about the murderer in the underbelly.
We do not know, she says, looking away. We do not ask.
Who are you?
We are the Kazai of the... She pauses. You may not know the word, but we come from another world. A heavier one. More rocks and less life.
She rubs her tattoos, drawing your attention to them once more. They are more than decorative. Their shape and placement indicate familial or tribal ties. Are those clan tattoos or family? Her massive grin nearly splits her face.
Both, she says. We mark ourselves for each body we consume. Like twigs sprouting from a branch. Everyone in our family. Everyone is food. Our world is not like yours, she says. It is not so rich. There are no animals, no...
She pauses, frowning.
Vegetals? None of those. The only flesh is our flesh.
She sighs.
But we are blessed. When we eat bodies, nothing is lost except the corpse. The soul is preserved.
She spreads her hands.
The dead one becomes part of us. It becomes we.
You're saying that the individual dies, but the soul is dispersed among all who eat the body?
You are correct, she says, nodding. We give our respect in this way, and we survive.
She shrugs.
Until we don't, and sometimes someone dies on their own, and the soul is lost. Our people deserve better, and that is why we are here. We heard rumors of the Dendro magic,
she says, concentrating. Your language is tenses, clearly giving her trouble.
It does not stop at the soul. It pulls memories from the dead flesh, soaks them into the mind.
She gives you a rapturous smile.
So we came through the portal in the bloom to learn this magic. We found our way to Sagiss, and we asked to join, she sighs. But now the portal is gone, we hear. But we will make another in time.
How many bodies have you eaten?
We do not share this, she chuckles. We prefer our feasts to be private, but many. We find feasts on our own.
Nothing new there. Nothing new there. Questions about the Dendro?
No,
she says, chuckling, and then covers her mouth with a barbed claw.
No, we are not the voice of the Dendro, tenderling. Speak with our leader Imbitu instead. Savor his words, and drink of his thoughts.
She gestures extravagantly in the direction of an elderly man standing nearby, as though introducing a prince.
We will miss you, tenderling. All of you.
Alright, Kiatiawa. That's a weird word. This woman watches you, measuring each step, every twitch of your hands, and yet there is no fear in her. Iron lines her spine and presses her mouth into a thin, even line. You take a wrong turn, she says, studying the nails on her right hand. Don't see many people coming down here for the light or the company. She steals a cautious glance at the hulking cultist nearby, then returns her gaze to you. You want something? Her eyebrows arch curiously, and it's that simple movement that makes a strange connection in your mind. You have seen that expression before, on a somewhat similar face, the ghostly woman in the fifth eye.
That.
Go on, she sighs. A murderer is loose in the underbelly. Can I ask you some questions? No, Imbitu doesn't want us getting involved. That's Imbitu. Doesn't look like much of a leader, does he? But he makes the rules. How long have you been in the Dendro? Long enough, she says. Thought I found a place I belonged. Guess I was wrong. She falls silent. Her lips shape the word again. Why don't you feel like you belong in the Dendro? She exhales, crushing her eyelids shut. Never mind, I shouldn't have said anything. It's bothering you. Nothing. No offense, but I don't know you at all. Leave me alone, alright? It's bothering you. Nothing. It's bothering you. Nothing. Okay. Sure you can't answer any questions? Alright. The answer is no.
I'm always ready.
I have a feeling Mallet's going to be a very similar thing. This burly man sneers at you, flexing massive scarred hands that could easily encircle your throat. His tongue probes his stained, sharpened teeth, and a short, blood-stained club swings from a hook at his waist. So what you doing down here, Shellmeat? He says. Playing in the dark? He chuckles low and long. There is a murderer loose in the underbelly. You know anything about that? Oh no, I'm not supposed to run my mouth about it, he says, folding his arm. Not unless Imbitu says so. He jerks his thumb at an elderly man standing nearby. He's watching the two of you, frowning. That's Imbitu, is it? Sharp one, ain't you? Mallet says with a rusty chuckle. Yeah, I know. Doesn't look like much, but that'll be your mistake. He runs things in here. How long have you been part of the Dendro? No, not long. What work did you do before? Broke stuff, he says, his eyes gleaming with dull humor. Not much for conversation, are ya? Way I see it, he drawls. I don't know you. You ain't done nothing for me, and we ain't got nothing to talk about. Not now, anyway. He crosses his arms. So why should we? Tell me about the Dendro. Don't got to tell you nothing, he says, snorting. You ain't one of us. You ain't nobody. He jerks his chin at the elderly man who stands nearby. You want a tour? You talk to Imbitu. I'm busy. Is he in charge? Yeah, Mallet chuckles. And at his age, he better be. Alright, bye. Fine, Imbitu. Coming. Jeez. At first glance, it would be easy to assume that this man is dying of some wasting disease or starvation. He is little more than a too-tall skeleton wrapped in translucent flesh and a tattered robe. His hands are essentially bony claws, and yet he beams at you. His sunken eyes glitter with suppressed laughter and feverish life. Imbitu smiles, his teeth are muddy brown. I know you, he says. So many eyes have lingered on that tattoo, that noble brow. He reaches to your forehead with a shivering, skeletal finger. Sure, you can touch my forehead, I don't care. His fingertips traces a hot line over your tattoo. Yes, he says, now I remember. Old Sirsa once saw you out of the corner of her eye a week before his accident. Eltimar sold you a small bag of, he breathes, closing his eyes, sugar-coated almonds. But those aren't the only two. No, you drift through countless lives, altering them and ending them, never leaving a name. He draws in a breath. Oh, I can't stand mysteries. Love him, but I can't stand him. Who are you? I'm not the man you think I am. That was somebody else. Imbitu says, that same face, the same tattoo, but yes, different eyes. Perhaps you have a secret twin. He coughs gently against the back of his hand. So it brings you to the chapel of the Dendro. A sculptor told me that your people may have found a man killed by a strange creature. Yes, he says, I believe I know the poor man, dry as a leaf, hollow as an eggshell, barely any man left in there at all. He clucks his tongue. Inspect him at your leisure. He's the one with the charred skin on his brow.
Updated my journal.
Now I don't know much more about him, he says, chuckling, though I can assure you we plumb the depths of his mind and body for answers. But I seem to recall seeing him before. Possibly not through my eyes, mind you. In Cliff's Edge, he was coming out of a building near the surgical parlor. I'm helping Folsom investigate some trouble in the underbelly. Can I ask you some questions? Of course, he says. And do tell Folsom hello from me. We are dear friends. He raises a finger. Well, he frowns more than I smile, but we do have a grand time whenever we meet, which is often. I have evidence that the Dendro are involved. Can I speak with your acolytes?
Making a note.
Oh my, he says. I suppose you have my permission. Do be gentle with them. He flashes his teeth at you. If they deserve it, of course. Tell me about the children of the Endless Gate. The smile falls from Imbitu's face. I hope you're not asking for the reason I think you are, he says. They began as a branch of the Dendro that was more impatient in their appetites. His lip twitches in the memory of a snarl. Years ago, my brothers and sisters and I chased them from the city and erased their names from every record, or so we had thought. Perhaps, he says, turning troubled eyes on his acolytes. No. This is the first time I've spoken to the Endless Gate in years. They cannot possibly be involved. He takes a deep breath and smiles at you. It's like watching a wrinkled sun emerging from the clouds. Where were you when Folsom's protege was killed? Ah, he says, excited. I have quite an amazing alibi. Is that how you say it? Alibi? He draws himself up and sets his jaw sternly like a caricature of justice itself. I was with Folsom the entire night. He can tell you as much. He leans in close to whisper in your ear. I promised Folsom I wouldn't tell anyone how he helps with things. You need to ask him if you want to know more. He winks and stands back. So as you can see, I am beyond suspicion. Do you think any of the other Dendro could be capable of murder? Certainly not, he declares and pauses. Well, they do come and go as they please, hunting for bodies left in the gutters like broken leaves. He smiles mistily up at the air, as though reminded of his younger years. The Devourer of Wrongs was standing vigil these last few days, but any of the others could be responsible, I suppose. He runs his eyes across them, humming a fretful little memory. Oh dear, he says. They really are a suspicious lot, aren't they? Mel enjoys hurting people. Kiyatawa tells her little lies, and Gazai, well, she's quite, unique. He seems as pleased as though he's accomplished her uniqueness himself. All in all, they're a horrifying bunch, aren't they? Hadn't really noticed before. Alright, let's go talk to them.
Of course we can help.
Mallet, let's
Right
have a
on.
little talk. What you want, Shellmeat, he says, leering. Imbitu gave me permission to ask you about the murders. Is that right? He says, glancing at Imbitu. The leader of the Dendro gives him a small nod. Yeah, alright. He says, ask you questions, for all the good it'll do ya. Did you know Weedle? Huh. He says, yeah, I knew him. Glad to hear he's dead. He chuckles. He was smart and knew it. always looking down on the rest of us, always ordering people around with Folsom looking on, smiling. He snorts. But if you're thinking I chopped him, I didn't. I was getting drunk in a corner of the manufactory. He grins nastily, wondering what all the screaming was about.
Making a note.
You know who you should ask, he says, leaning in. Kiyotaya. I saw her hunched over some corpse in an alley all by herself. Doesn't matter what the meat is. People who eat on their own always got something to hide. He nods at the other cultist. And Gaza's one to watch too. She ain't like you or me. She's a mutant, not one of the nicer ones. Tell me about your eating habits. Is that right, he says, scratching one of his sharpened teeth. Not much of a mystery there. I eat people. I like it. If that doesn't answer your question, go on and ask. How many have you eaten? Can't give you the exact number, he says. You eat what's given to you here, but at least one time, at midnight, I was out on my own, found a corpse lying beneath a stack of rusty metal. Someone just left him out there to rot. He shakes his head, perception. His expression of mock regret barely masks his smile. Maybe I'll go for another walk tonight, he muses. Can't help but wondering what else I'll find. Hidden under things. Doesn't eating flesh bother you? Bother? No, bother ain't the right word. He rubs the back of his neck. You think you're gonna mind the taste, but you don't. The part I don't like is that the memories from the person you eat end up in your head, and you can't make them shut up. The four of us ate this skull arc, not a fancy one, but one with old robes. Kiyotawa was talking about some words she kept hearing after. He scowls. I didn't get a word. I saw a memory of his when I was picking him out of my teeth. He was lying in bed, dying maybe, waiting for his son to come visit him. His eyes kept closing, and his son never came. He shakes his head, like a beast trying to dislodge a biting insect. Not that I saw anyway, and that's just from one meal. His eyes flicker away from you, and for a brief moment you see the fear in his eyes, the helplessness. Why do you eat corpses if it troubles you so much? Doesn't trouble me, he growls, but his voice is shaking. Just ain't easy, but it'll get better. Look at Imbatu. He's been doing this for a long time. You glance at Imbatu, the elderly head of the Dendra Ohor waves, and gives you a huge rotten grin. Have you heard something about the Endless Gate? No, he says. Strange name, though. If it don't end, ain't much of a gate, is it? It's more of a hallway. I mean, he's not wrong. That's pretty true. Tell me what you think of the other members of your family. Family, he repeats. Good one. I trust my brother over this bunch, and he tried to cut my throat when I was 5. He clucks his tongue. Go on, ask questions. How about Imbatu? He's alright, Mallet says. Got half the city scared of him, the other half bringing him meat. Not bad for an old man who smiles at everyone, never raises his voice. How about Gazai? Gazai's a monster, he says, shaking his head. Less human and more than a beast. I've seen her take a corpse's face off with a swipe of those claws, tuck into her mouth like pan bread. Didn't stop till the body was gone, down to the last drop. He bites his upper lip, drawing ribs of blood. Talk to Gazai if you want. Figure out me? Keep my distance. How about Kiyatawa? He opens his mouth to speak, closes it, thinking. Something's wrong with her, he says finally. I ain't stupid. I know how that sounds coming from me. Just something's broken in her, and it's always getting worse. You feel eyes on you. You glance around in time to see Kiyotaro will look away. Alright, let's go talk to Kiyotaro. She doesn't spare words on you this time. She merely nods, her wary gaze cataloging the position of everyone in the room. Imbatu says I can ask you about the murders in the underbelly. Yeah, she says, looking over at the old man. He nods. Good. Have to say I'm not surprised the murderer's trail led you here. What do you want to know? Mallet says he caught you eating a corpse on your own. Yeah? Maybe Mallet should mind his business, she says, shooting an angry look at the hulking cultist. Sure, it's true. I don't like being down here more than I have to, alright? I barely even sleep anymore. Keep getting the feeling that they're waiting for me to die, wondering what I would taste like.
Making a note.
Not too long ago, I found a corpse in an alley near Circus Minor, and I didn't see why I had to share with this lot. She drags her fingers through her hair. That's it, no secret, no scandal. And since Mallet thinks he can share my hunting with strangers, maybe she ask him how many corpses he's found on his own, or if they were actually dead when he found them. Do you know who the murderer is?
Making a note.
No, she says, resting a hand on her hips, but I've seen what they left behind of Folsom's boy. A mess. Blood on the walls and the floor, no body. She flicks a strand of hair out of her eyes. That's the kind of death you see when someone's sending a warning or holding a grudge. I saw it all the time before I came here. Do you know anything about the Endless Gate? No. She says, never heard of him. You sure? She shakes her head looking confused. What do you think? Why do you think someone killed the protege? Why? She says with something approaching a grin. Why? This is someone Folsom cared about. He has a lot of enemies. Why do you think? Tell me about the other Dendra Ohur. Alright, just don't expect me to hold back. Imbatu. He's lived too long, she says. Maybe the Dendro Ohur were something once, but he's just looking for his next meal now, and the rest of them are following his example. How about Mallet? He likes hurting people. More than that, he's proud of it. She runs an angry hand through her hair and lowers her voice. I'm not sure, but I think he's been killing rivals from his old life and eating them. How about Gazai? She used to be worse than she is. If you haven't talked to her yet, you'll see what I mean. She glances at the mutant uneasily. Maybe all those corpses she's eating on her own are bringing sadness into her head, civilizing her, maybe. She shakes her head, but that just means she's a predator who knows the mind of her prey. Any new things? Okay. Alright, next person. Gazai is next.
We welcome you back, tenderling.
She croons as if singing to a tasty child. I can ask you about the murderers now. Her small eyes glow with humor, but flicker first to the leader of the Dendro Ohur. He nods.
Ask your questions, tenderling,
she says, stroking the back of her hand with her claws. Even this gentle motion draws blood. What do you know about the murders?
Oh, tenderling, she chuckles delighted. You used the wrong word over and over. There is no murder if there's no body. This was... And she uses a word you do not recognize, a gruesome combination of clicking teeth and growling consonants. And so nothing was lost.
Updated my journal.
We do not know who is responsible, she says, scratching her cheek. Blood spills unheeded from the wound. Kiatawa and Mallet sneak about during the night. They swallow their secrets. They are Dendro Ohur to serve their power and hunger, not to honor the dead, not for... She uses the word again, snapping her jagged teeth with great satisfaction. They're not capable of such kindness.
What is that word you used to describe murder, that clicking growling word?
Word? She says, blinking. Oh yes, your language does not have a word, so we use our own.
She clicks her teeth together thoughtfully, then answers,
We know of murder, of course. To leave a body to rot is to say the soul inside is not worth keeping. This we punish. This decision is not for anyone to make. The word we speak of this is the opposite. On my world, when one of us dies or one is killed, we eat their flesh and take their souls into our body. We feel the light of them reach our corners. She raises a claw, smiling. They becomes we. You understand?
I see. You only think it's murder if the murderer doesn't eat the entire body.
Yes, she says, clapping her hands together with delight. You understand? This murder is no murder, she pronounces the word with obvious scorn. We know the details. A skinned hand in blood circles on the wall. She says, making a tisking noise. Tenderlings play with their food. Perhaps your murderer is young. They do not know what they should finish. They do not know they should finish the hands, strip the memories of hard work from the tendons, crunch the bones, slurp the blood from the floor. She raises her head fondly. Tenderlings.
You don't think Kiatawa or Mallet killed any of the victims?
We never said that, she says, playfully biting her tongue. They kill, but they do not honor. They do not understand who they are.
Do you know of a group called the Children of the Endless Gate?
We know it, she says, frowning, but we are not sure how.
She drums her claws against her skin, drawing pinpricks of blood.
Yes, bloody circles left on the sides of the junkyard dwellings outside the bloom, in shadows. Beware the Endless Gate, little woman. The people of that community say, it still makes us laugh, such sweetness.
Where'd you see the bloody circles again?
In the junkyard outside the bloom, but not yesterday, not last year, a time ago. And then the circles appeared no more. Perhaps the ones who drew them moved on.
I guess we can talk to the Devourer. Good. It rumbles at once as though it has been waiting for the news. I would have the murderer caught, and caught quickly. It angers me that all of this transpired while I was attending to Reese. Despite the statement, the creature's voice is as placid as a subterranean pond. I assume you are here because the Dendro Ohur is suspected of being the murderer. I will tell you what I know. I have known Imbatu through many minds. He is subtle, clever, and untrustworthy. He is also no murderer. He casually clenches a gloved fist. That leaves the other three. They are all capable of the crime. Mallet is ambitious and desires revenge. Kiatawa sneaks, plots, and keeps secrets. Gazai is not human. It does not define murder as we do. The creature's fist falls to its side once more. Talk to them. Search for holes in their stories. They will lead you to the truth. Which one do you think is Mallet, Gazai, or Kiatawa could be the murderer? Question them and look for falsehoods. Alright, let's go back and talk to him. Mallet is the next one again. We're running out of time. Damn, this is taking a while. Got more questions. Alright. Let's go over your eating habits. Kiatawa says you've been killing people instead of waiting for them to die. People? She said that? Or sorry, people. She says that? He shoots a dark look at Kiatawa. Yeah, right. But not people, he says, stretching his thick neck. Just the one. Someone, yeah, I can give you a name. Who stole something from me once, and the fact that you ain't here asking about him means no one misses him. You sound like a man with a lot of grudges. You sure you didn't decide to settle some with Folsom? You must think I'm an idiot, he says. Sometimes grudges pay off, right? Make you feel good, right in your gut. He slaps his belly, but no one ever gets the better of Folsom. Even if I killed every one of his proteges. I'm not saying I killed even one. The man would have me skinned and hung before I dropped my club. Are you sure you haven't killed anyone else since you joined the gender her? Yeah, I'm sure, he says. His usual smile, however, is missing. Alright, next person then. Got more questions. She has nothing further to say. Nothing to say there. Let's go talk to Folsom really quickly. Let's see if that one dude's alibi checks out. He should be down by the corpsicle, right there. I found him.
I'm ready for whatever comes.
Another murder has occurred, he says. Mantha was a wandering Czech and occasionally used to me. Now he's dead. He bears a crescent of gritted teeth at you. Work harder, godling. My people are dying. Impetu says he was with you when the first murder occurred. Is that true? Yes. Folsom says. He does not elaborate. I've discovered that the children of the Endless Gate may be involved in Weedle's murder. Interesting. Impetu told me the group had been crushed long ago. I would count it a favor if you continued your investigation. Speak with Impetu and his acolytes. Tell me if you believe one of them is responsible. Any new insights? Perhaps. Consider the latest targets, he says. A fisherwoman and a freelance Jack. One has done work for me. One has always been close to my heart. Neither were crucial to my plans. His sigh is more of a growl. I conclude that this murderer is not specifically targeting my interests, but he or she will suffer nonetheless.
At last.
Let's go back and talk to them some more. His alibi does check out. That is unfortunate. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't. That would have made the investigation much easier, but I suppose they couldn't make it that easy for us.
Done.
He has nothing further to say. Nothing to say there. Alright, let's go try and get through all of the conversations, find something new, hopefully.
To action!
Okay, nothing new there. What do you want? Oh yeah, you open up if you have something to talk about? Oh yeah, he snorts. You won't be able to shut me up. That's nothing new. Just going through the conversation options, these are all the same as before. Tell me about your cult. We worship the great Queen Sarlavan. Lady of Maggots, goddess of entropy, and guardian of the empty barrier, he says, then pauses, tapping a muddy tooth thoughtfully, although worship is the wrong word, perhaps. He points to the altar nearby. It displays a skull with flat, unforgiving eyes buried in its hollow sockets. She waits on the other side of death with her billions of squirming children. They devour whatever passes into their realm. And rightfully so. Everyone must eat. Alright, try to do the voice. His eyes twinkle fondly. But whatever she and her children eat is lost forever, and so the Dendra Ohur work to preserve the minds and the memories of mortals before death claims them. We hold their shrill little thoughts in our minds, and let them tumble around as they will. It feels marvelous. He shivers. Okay, tell me about yourself. Oh dear, there's much to tell. I spent most of my life in this little chapel, he says, casting a fond look around. The Dendra Ohur has rather consumed my life. Well, we can go look at this corpse while we're here. We might as well. A strong aroma of charred flesh rises from the dingy cloth over this corpse.
Updated my journal.
You carefully move the shroud to the side. There's no way around it. This dead man was a cast-off. And it would have been hard for him to be deader. His flesh is papery, desiccated. His tattoo, or rather the charred remains of it, has burned through his skin and into the bone beneath. And of course, there's the matter of his charred eye sockets, with his horrified gaping mouth. Parts of the corpse are missing, remnants of an aborted Dendra feast. You aren't surprised they stopped. Let's touch the tattoo. The last thing you remember before your fingertips grace the tattoo is a rising buzz. Time stops and breaks. Panting softly, you awaken, leaning against the bier for support. Your arm burns, your temples throb, and white set claws at the corner of your vision. Someone was screaming in that lightless, timeless void. You remember that much, but it wasn't you. None of the Dendra are looking your way. And that's it. That's all there was to do with that corpse, apparently. And we are actually out of time. So, we're going to end it here. In the next video, we'll finish up our investigation. And from there, we will name a killer. Like always, if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. Others, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.